Good evening. I'm Dr. Mitchell-Palmer-McDonald, and this is Blacklight On Sports. My partner, Charles Hallman, is on assignment and will not be with us this evening. Our guest this week is a former St. Paul Central basketball great who is now the executive director of the Hallie Q.BrownCommunity Center in St. Paul. I would like to introduce you to Mr. Benny Roberts. How you doing, Ben?
I'm good, brother. Thanks you for having me.
All right. Why don't you start by telling us, nice smile. Why don't you start by telling us about your journey, how you got here, um, any struggles you've had or any triumphs you've had. How did you come into this position?
Yeah, I think it started a long time ago. The first time I went to Rondo days when I was a kid in memory, I remember leaving there having so much pride for my community. And a lot of kids looked up to, like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, players like that when I was coming up. But like when I would see like you or your dad, y'all was like my rock stars. Like those are the people that I looked up to, folks in the community. Y'all were the ones that actually came to our games,
Okay.
shout us out. And I think that laid the foundation for me to say, you know what, like whatever I want to do, I want to go into places and I want people to see me for how I contribute to the community. And so it started there. My whole career has been nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
My first job, I worked at African American Family Services. So this is in high school, working for
Okay.
Dennis Presley,
Okay. Okay.
doing the anti-drug campaigns. And then I went to St. Paul Urban League, worked for Russell Ballinger, and we did the teen pregnancy prevention work. And I just fell in love with it from there. And so I've not done anything else really since then but community work.
Now how long have you been at Hallie Q Brown?
I've been at Hallie Q Brown just a year now.
A
Yeah,
year. Okay.
yeah.
Now how did that go?
Um, Interesting. So I used to work at Urban Ventures, which is down the street from here, and I was there 7 years. I was kind of getting groomed to take over the organization. I led a lot of programs, and then just kind of had a life change. My brother-in-law, Jamal Abdul Salam, Jamal Foster, for those who knew him back in the day.
Yes.
Jamal was married to my sister almost 30 years, but he had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, they were like, hey Ben, this is gonna be for you if you want this at Urban Ventures. And I was like, man, life's short. I just watched my brother pass, and I think there's something bigger for me, and I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna take a break. So I quit. I literally left there and started taking care of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 3 months into having a sabbatical, somebody was like, "Yo, Hallie Q Brown needs some like real leadership. Benny, you should consider applying there."
Mm-hmm.
I threw my name in a hat, and as you can see, the rest is history from there. But yeah,
Now, what are some of the things you do at Hallie Q Brown?
um, man, leadership is everything. So I was the dude shoveling when we didn't have a facilities person. When somebody wasn't in the child care center, I was in there. But my real role beyond helping with the day to day is like the strategic vision for the organization moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
How do we reinstitute ourselves into the community where we're seen as a resource for the neighborhood? And how do we continue to tell the legacy of our community and our history and make sure that like our elders are being uplifted and their stories are being remembered and we're telling them?
How when you first got there, because Hallie Q Brown is a landmark in St. Paul. How did it feel? When you found out that you had the job and you had a chance to run a place that I'm pretty sure you visited when you were a child, and how did that feel?
Yeah,
Getting that.
I felt like what it must have felt like to be like you or your dad walking around anywhere in community. Like I felt like, man, this got to be euphoric. Like everyone walked in there, they're like, Ben, what up, man?
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, remember we used to play at the King Center because I played for the King Center. That was the first time I was like a team captain.
Okay.
I played for Clem Crow,
Mm-hmm.
and we won city that year as well. I went to two trains running at Penumbra when I was a kid.
Oh, so you're in plays.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was into that too. My wife played for Sugar Storm, so
Okay.
the first time we met was in the gym down there
Okay.
for
So
basketball
both of you are
practice.
basketball players.
Yeah,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
So it felt really good coming in there because I already felt like I was at home.
Now I'm going back a little bit. you played high school ball at St. Paul Central, right?
Yeah,
Um, did your experiences there in athletics help contribute to who you are, who you became, and who you will continue to be?
absolutely. Um, I usually don't brag on these kind of things, but this was an important thing, and I'm working on it. My wife's like, you got to be able to celebrate. I am getting inducted in the Hall of Fame this year
At Central?
at Central.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So October is my induction. Um, but what I learned there was that I can impact on the court, but when I put like my energy and effort to something, I can have just as big or a bigger impact even off the court.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I learned the discipline in basketball, learned how to lead in basketball. I started on the bench at Jimmy Lee, so I also learned how to follow and be a good teammate. And so, all of those things kind of helped me over time. And then I had an injury that kind of like cut my career short from that standpoint, but I still had other opportunities. So I learned resilience through that and how to perspire and push through.
Now you went on to you went on to Webster University right after you got done. Did you play there?
Yeah,
And what did you major in?
I major in sociology.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was your experiences as far as a student athlete, being a student athlete in college? Was that a big change from when you were in high school?
Actually, no.
Okay.
I think like Central was really a special place. Like, it was very diverse. They had all the sports.
Right.
I was used to having a lot of attention and spotlight, so a lot of that pressure and having to deliver. And when I went to college, it was like more of the same. Like, it took very little time for me to establish myself on campus as a leader. I kind of walked on the team, but became the captain by like the end of the first season.
Oh, you walked on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they went from like who's the random dude to like I was starting and leading the team, and so I played for like 2.5 years, but I was a RA for 3 years, orientation leader for 3 years. I did all kind of different things on campus and helped speak out about things. That was when Obama got elected too, so um, got to speak out about Black issues and help amplify our voice as a community on campus. So high school
Okay.
prepared me, especially being at Central.
Okay. So you didn't play your whole 4 years there.
Mm-mm.
Now, usually when you go to a school like St. Paul Central, athletics is very, very, very important. It always, no matter what the teams are like, there it always will be.
Yeah.
And you kind of get entrenched in that. And when you want to move on to college, you want to play, and you ended up only playing 2.5 years. Now, did you come to a point where you know what, I've done basketball, maybe I need to start looking forward to the rest of my life? Or, how did that thinking come about? Because, most people want to play those 4 years. And then did something happen there that triggered your mind where you got more involved in activities and you were like, you know what, I got to start thinking about the future?
Yeah. It was a little bit of both. I developed arthritis in high school.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I tore my meniscus and missed my junior year at Central. And when I got to college, I still had that like chronic pain from arthritis. And so I I originally had other school offers lined up. I used to play for Howard Pulley as well. And I was actually the only St. Paul kid in the program my first two
Yes.
years there. And but when I got hurt, I lost all the opportunities for other schools that I was looking at. And so I knew my time was probably going to run out with basketball one day. I thought my body might betray me,
Mm-hmm.
and it did. But I quickly just said, you know what? I just want to be around the game.
Yeah.
I played in like men's leagues. I started coaching. Started reffing when I gave up basketball. I actually was assistant coach for the women's team at Webster
Oh.
my last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now you're also a sought after speaker, right? You're also an artist.
Yeah.
Talk about those ventures that you're in beside
Yeah.
your job.
Art, that was actually the very, very first thing that I learned, how to draw. And I would draw like pictures and faces and all of that. And people are like, you should start doing portraits. And so then I started drawing portraits of people and illustrating. And I remember when I reached out to you when I started picking the pen back up and drawing because I drew a picture of your dad. It's still to this day one of my favorite
Yeah.
pictures that I've ever
Yeah.
drawn.
I appreciate that.
But it's like it's a way for me to speak without words and a way for me to be expressive. And I found out that like in leading, I was very comfortable speaking in front of groups.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest moments of the team, they always asked me to like, man, what do we got to do, man? And I always was able to come up with the words.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up in like church and stuff, sometimes they would push us in the front and make us do speeches and stuff like that. So I got really comfortable speaking publicly. And then one day somebody was like, I'd love for you to speak to our group. And I'm like, all right. And then they're like, how much? And I was like, how much? Like, I can make money doing that. And then they sent me a check.
Yes, you can. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
And so, as I've been growing in business and also like some ministry stuff, people ask me to speak on subjects of faith or leadership or perseverance and that kind of stuff. And so, those opportunities have continued to come, and I'm grateful for them. You know, I'm in a space in life where I'm getting to use all my abilities at one time,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really fun.
Now, how important do you think it is for people to see you as a black man in the community, leading Hallie Q. Brown, going to different places and speaking and sharing your experiences with the community? How first of all, do you think it's important? I'm pretty sure you do.
Yeah.
And then why is it important, particularly in today's society?
Yeah. I think we as black people don't have a choice but to be unapologetic about who we are as people. I don't think there's been a time period in our society where um, we've had the luxury to hold back or to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whether I say it or not, people know I'm black.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I say it or not, we also know that just this world wasn't designed for us to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on us to be able to advocate for ourselves as a community. And I think it's important for me as a black male leader to do that because I'm standing on the shoulders of others that did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you probably didn't you didn't know I was gonna just heap praise on you, but like you did that for me. You know, you would take me out the Keys Cafe, you and your dad, and Robert Smaller. We'd be a group,
Yes, we
and
did.
you tell us we have a community responsibility off the court, and that we have to present ourselves in a certain way. You know, not like respectability, just more so. Hey, as young men, you got to make sure you carry yourself in a way that's positive,
Mm-hmm.
and you make sure you uplift who you are as people, and those things stuck to me, and I do those things now for others. And so it's important for black men to step up and do that because we also kind of set the culture
Mm-hmm.
for other leaders. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's why we do it, and that's why I do it.
Yeah. Now, how do we? The community's not, at least in St. Paul, the black community's not what it used to be because everyone's moved. Everyone's moved away, moved out.
Yeah.
Um, Yet there's still some type of tightness, and there's still a sense of community, even though everyone's not there. Uh, what do you think contributes to that?
Yeah. It's like a economic highway that hit the community this time. You know, first it was the physical structure that split the community,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's like the gentrification and the other systems that are at play that make it more difficult to maintain your house. Make it, people can't afford the taxes. People have different challenges here and there, and so they start to relocate. My wife and I, we wanted to buy our first house. We wanted to be back in St. Paul. We wanted to be in Rondo,
Mm-hmm.
and we just couldn't afford it in 2017 with two incomes,
Mm-hmm.
and so, all the suggestions we were getting is move to Maplewood, move to Woodbury,
Mm-hmm.
or move to North Minneapolis. And I was like, well, I'd rather live in North Minneapolis because I want to be in a city and I want to be in a community where we still have a presence. I don't want to feel unsafe in a suburb. I want to feel like I'm around our people. And so I think everybody still holds on to the legacy. There's still that aura that's in the air somehow when you're in Rondo, that people see you and I know your people, I know your family,
Yeah.
you know me. and it just feels like that family spirit is still there, even though the people aren't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm flashing back a little bit, but me and one of my best friends that I played ball with, we were just talking about Carroll Avenue, and Carroll Avenue was huge. It was one of the busiest avenues when I was growing up
Mm-hmm.
because everybody lived there, and we were naming off the families that lived there. We even drive by there sometimes and go, "Remember, so and so lived there, so and so lived there."
Yeah.
And even though that's not there anymore, because people do leave. It was just interesting that when we have community events and all that, people come back and people show up, and then you still have that feel again. That's why I asked that question, and then I wanted to just know, with you being at Hallie Q. Brown, how that felt. Now going back to your athletic career,
Uh-huh.
um, any memorable moments? Anything that stands out? It could be funny. It could be we lost this game, and I remember when this coach yelled at me, whatever, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
But then is there anything you're laughing right now? So is there anything you want to anything without being too embarrassing to other people, but
Yeah. I won't embarrass anybody.
yeah. But are there anything that stands out?
There's a few brief ones. I know when I was at Ramsey, our team was so good.
Ramsey Middle School.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were 2 years and no. I don't remember how many games we played, but I know we didn't lose.
Okay.
And so one day, our leading scorer was out. This white boy, Matt Cadwell. Matt was a bad man.
Yes, Matt was.
Kind of like a Joe Mauer,
Yes.
like
He
this
was.
great athlete.
Yep.
And he was ambidextrous. And so we were playing Capitol Hill, and their best player, I heard him in warm-ups. He said, "Hey, man, the white boy ain't playing today, so I think we're gonna win." And and then I was just kind of like, okay. And I like dropped 40 on them. And after the game, he was like, "Yo, where you going to high school at?" And he became one of my best friends, DeRay Charo, who I graduated with, played at Central together. Uh, there was this other one where at Central, we were playing in the Hamlin tournament, and one of my teammates got in foul trouble, so they subbed him out. And it was one of my like favorite teammates. He got in the game, and he doesn't always get in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He got in and got this steal, and we're all like, "Oh man, go, go, go!" And then he caught a cramp. And he went to take off for a layup and caught a cramp. And next thing you know, he like froze and just fell over like a statue. It was maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen on a basketball court because like he got in, made an impact play, and then just immediately embarrassed himself in front of like the whole Hamlin University. And he got out and he was like, "How'd I do?" So he had a sense of humor too, and so it was just funny. But like I had a lot of good moments. And in the first write up, I had you did it. We were playing Harding, and I like to play. I like to have fun when I play too, And so there was moments of flash, but the point guard at Harding, who I played at Ramsey, he was John and John and John, and we were busting them up. But at the end of the game, we had a decided win, and I ripped him, and I did like a 360 layup. And then the headline on the write up that you did was a picture of me doing a layup. And it was like Ben Roberts completing a 360 layup, and I was like, I felt like I was on ESPN seeing that write up. But there was a lot of fun moments, man. I made a lot of friends that are still friends to this day. Um,
Mm. Any Are there any fun moments on the job?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what are some fun moments on the job that things that make you feel good or things that give you a laugh or anything like that?
Right now is giving our elders flowers while they're alive to receive them. I've been throwing a bunch of like impromptu events for our elders to get together,
Mm-hmm.
and I do them for two different reasons. One, I know it's good for us as we age to continue to tell short stories and connect with each other because it helps keep your like brain sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And then B, like our organization holds a lot of the community's history and has for almost a century. And so they allow me to feed them and spoil them while on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to like catalog these events where we get them together and they start sharing old stories.
Mm-hmm.
And Floyd Smaller paid me the biggest compliment of all time. I was showing him a project we're working on. We're building. We rebuilt Rondo on Roblox, the little video game platform, and we're using it as an educational tool to teach kids the history of our community, the past, but also connecting them to the present. And we leveraged the highway to be the connector, and so it's like a portal. But I got to demonstrate the game in an early phase to Floyd Smaller and several other elders, and Floyd said, "This is the reason why I started the Rondo days, so that one day one of our babies will continue to tell our story long after we're gone." And like everyone in there busted out crying and was just sitting there like, man, like this, it's deeper than a game. Me being in this role is way deeper than celebrating a position or a title. Like there is legacy that we have to like move forward, and so that's probably the biggest highlight. Was moments like that.
So that compliment came from Hall of Fame football coach and community leader Floyd Smaller. Huh?
Yeah.
The legend, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Big time.
You played for him, right?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I still remember those practices. I'll never forget them. And I'll never forget the games. But those practices, he got us ready, and he's really been a guiding light in the Black community. You don't realize it when he was your coach. We didn't realize he's running us all the time, and we were scared of him.
Yeah.
But as time went on and we grew up, you kind of look back about what Rondo Days was really about. So
yeah.
Now, what are you thinking about as you move forward in your job? You've got 1 year. You got 1 year down. That's usually getting your feet wet, and you're doing well. You're still there.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And it's always rough, no matter what, when you're doing something for the first time.
Yeah.
And now you have some experience. You've been with your staff long. What have you been thinking about? How you want to move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. We're still in the phase of like stabilizing the organization, but I've been dreaming quite a bit. I see us envisioning like expanding the organization and the actual building itself. I would like to increase the footprint of the building because there's a few assets our community needs and resources that we don't have in St. Paul at all. There's no Ramsey County Service Center like really located in St. Paul. The nearest one is Roseville. So like our elders that still live in Rondo got to go to Roseville to get services. So I see us expanding to be able to fit that so that families can come get resources. We're in like a food access desert right now. All those grocery stores have closed. Rainbow, Walmart, now Cub, downtown the Lunds and Byerly's. Old Rondo had a bunch of grocery stores, and it was really a full, complete society. We have a incomplete society, and so I see us expanding enough to where we can add another grocery store for the community at Hallie Q. Brown. I also see us building a full museum, like a real full attraction, kind of like when you go to Kansas City for the Negro Leagues, American Jazz, that you would actually come travel to St. Paul to learn about the Black history and the history of Rondo. We have an incredible story that people are talking about across the country. I heard about Rondo when I was in St. Louis, and I had other people talking about what happened to Rondo, and everyone knows our stories because our elders never stopped telling it. And so it's on the forefront of people's minds. They're studying it, but we have all the resources, and it's our story to tell. So I see us building a museum that also can help us be an attraction and create jobs for people, but also keep that legacy alive, amongst some other stuff.
Yeah, my parents lived here. Well, they moved here 3 times. And they moved to St. Paul like 3 times.
Couldn't get enough of it.
And I'm still wondering about that, but we'll move on from that. That's another show. But speaking of Rondo, my parents lived here the first time from 1959 to 1965. And by the time I was born, in 1965, my dad had relocated to Durham, North Carolina, because he was working at a job where everybody got a raise but him. So he was like, all right, I got to go. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And so, but my mom wanted to have me here. So we moved around a lot my first 12 years of my life.
Okay.
First 12 years. We moved around quite a bit. So we're in Washington, D.C. now. I'm in 7th grade. I'm about to go. My dad says that we have I have an opportunity. He ran into Katie McQuad. So he said, we have an opportunity. He came home. I'm 11 years old. I don't know what's going on. He said, we have an opportunity to go to St. Paul. And my mom was like, you mean go back to Minnesota? My mom wasn't for it. And then I remember they talked about she said the freeway was going in when we left. So I'm hearing all this stuff and I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And then my mom said, we're only going to move back if the community is still there. So they went to the community and saw, even though the bridges were there with the freeway, that it was still there. And that was like the first time I learned about Rondo. And then
wow.
I'll be honest, and then we'll move on to something else, but I'll be honest, I wasn't jumping up and down to come to us, even though I was born here.
Yeah.
I wasn't jumping up and down to come to St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was like, Minnesota? And then when I got here, the community was still here. They knew everybody from still. So it kind of worked out. And then for whatever reason, they moved away and then moved back and they moved away and then moved back. I'm like, okay. There was something you liked about it. And I can't talk because I stayed after I graduated from college. So
yeah.
There was something about that, and there's something still about that pull of the neighborhood. So why don't you talk a little bit about your family?
Yeah.
And how important they are as you embark on this journey. I'm pretty sure they're on the journey with you.
Yes.
And wanted to know how that works.
Yeah. Again, I met my wife when we were kids at the King Center, and her family. She's the granddaughter of Barbecue King, and so her family her family has some roots, right, in Rondo as well. And so the first thing was like, man, like, honey, this is gonna be the biggest thing you've probably done in your career, and I was also looking for that, immediately. Like my mom, she's 71. She still gets teary eyed today talking about like her like formative years at Hallie Q. Brown. Like she told me stuff that I ain't never heard. Like now, I learned how to play pool there with Pluky Duke and and they start naming these names. Oh, I learned karate, and I didn't know you even knew karate, But like all of her core memories were at Hallie Q. Brown. So she comes up there probably multiple times a week, every week, just because she's proud of me, but B, like it revived her like sense of pride in what that community center did for her. We have a food shelf. Sometimes my aunts are up there and they get food from the food shelf or from the farmers market we do. And I see a family member almost daily. I'm from the Hill tribe, the Archer tribe, the Garrett tribe, and there's a lot of us in the city. My siblings, they rally around. My mom personally helped redo the clothing closet. Yeah, my brother has like catered food for us, for the staff and for events. My sister, she's advised me on just navigating some leadership structure stuff. My little sister has done some photography and video work for us. And my dad grew up in Minneapolis. He's a South Sider. The rest of his family's North Side.
Okay.
And so like he grew up with like Sabathani and Phyllis Wheatley. So he knows the importance of a Hallie Q. Brown. So he, sends me stuff. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but they used to do programs like this back in the day, and like sends me like ideas, and they'll encourage me a lot. And my daughter, you'd think she runs the whole place. She walks around, puts her feet up on my desk, like that kind of stuff.
How old is your daughter?
She's 10 now.
10? Okay.
Yeah, she's getting up there, man, 5th grade. But family is everything, and I think like it's important also to show people a family unit because we don't have that strong presence of people living directly in Rondo anymore.
Right.
So when they see like my aunts and my sisters, my brother, cousins, people like that come around, they go, man, that's right. We're all a part of this community. We all are like a family. And Floyd and some others. He was like, my best friend back in the day was John Garrett.
Mm.
And I was like, oh yeah. He's like, that was my favorite teammate. That was my best friend. I was like, John Garrett's my great uncle. And he was like, I didn't know that. You're family now. Oh man, John. You know, and we get to make those family connections and community. And so I think like that gives us life as people to know that we have a deeper connection than just like, oh, that's the brother I see on the corner, or we hooped before one time. But like, no, our families have known each other for generations if they came out of this community.
Now, who are some of the people that influenced you along along your journey?
Yep.
Who like who are some people that come to mind?
Um,
Think about that.
I'll start with the McDonald's so I can get the blushing stuff out the way. But Mitch and Kwame, Russell Ballinger, um, Frank White, um, Jim Robinson,
Mm.
um, Coach Howe. Um,
Mm.
he was like, "You're a leader, and I better see you be a leader all the time." Like that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Mary McBee at Central,
Oh, the principal.
the
Yeah.
principal.
Okay.
Miss McGuat.
Mhm.
Uh, she always made sure we was doing the right thing.
Mhm.
Man, yeah, I can go on. Stephen Zachary, Clem Crow, my brother-in-law Jamal, who passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Nick Khalik, people like I feel that's another thing is like I'm obligated to serve and give everything I have because that's just who I named off right off the top of my head right now. Dennis Presley, but like I had that many people investing in me.
Mm.
So like I have to invest back and it has to go back into the community. And so the more names I name, it's like the more I see the responsibility
Mm.
to give back to the community.
No, it's interesting. You don't realize until you start naming names and start thinking about it, like how many people really contributed to, because people think you did it all by yourself,
Far from
and none of us have it. None of us that are in this have done anything by ourselves. You were on the basketball team. Okay, you didn't score 40 points on your own. You had people defending, people giving you the ball and all that. You didn't just like have the ball all
Yeah.
the time. And then I'm gonna shoot every time in that.
Yeah.
So there's always that teamwork. Now we have the how can I put it? You still have that aura of the Rondo community. How do we keep it? How do we keep it going as society just keeps changing and people are moving out and things are getting gentrified? How do we still keep that aura going on
Yeah.
in the future? How do we do that?
I see a few ways. Elder Mahmoud always says like contest the definitions, but the other part of that message is like fight back. Um, the reason we're talking about Rondo now is because even with the highway split in the community,
Mm-hmm.
and even though the government has changed the neighborhood geographics, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no actual Rondo community legally, technically, right now. There's Thomas Dale, Frogtown, Capitol Heights, everything else, but people know that's Rondo. And so I think we keep banging the drum the same way our elders did. We keep telling our story. And I think it's on my generation to be creative and innovative with telling the story in different ways
Mm-hmm.
to make sure it gets translated to the future generations too. And so that's why I think a museum will be a good tool. I think we take our services into the schools
Mm-hmm.
to help with the curriculums that they're teaching because
Mm-hmm.
we can teach history, but we hold the history. So why don't we teach our own? Um, and we can still teach the country's history, but we have local history that's just as rich. And so how do we integrate it? How do we use games? And how do we do activities and programs that are intergenerational?
Yeah, I always thought about that because growing up, we knew our neighborhood was the neighborhood, but we, as kids, we were just living.
Yeah.
So we weren't even thinking about, the history. We grew up with the bridge, so we were like, yeah, they live across the bridge. We weren't even thinking that like there
Yeah.
were houses there. Not that wasn't us until we got older, of course, and then we started hearing those stories because we weren't hearing them in school.
Right.
and Central is right, kind of in the heart
Mm-hmm.
of right there where Rondo is. So,
Yep.
but there was never anything, and I always thought about this, even as a teacher myself, that there's not enough local history being taught, and you got people that are making waves or doing real good that are right in the community, but everybody knows who Michael Jordan and Muhammad Ali are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
But they don't know Stacey Robinson.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean? They don't know Richard Robinson, who was a heck of a coach, football coach at North.
Yeah.
But no one knows about those. No one knows about those people, or Sandy Stevens,
Yeah.
quarterback in Minnesota. You know,
See.
they don't. So I think we do have responsibility to tell these stories,
Yeah.
and also trying to think. You're named after someone
Yeah.
who was quite a legend himself in St. Paul. Why don't you talk about your uncle a little bit?
Yeah. So my mom's next sibling down, so there's just 9 of them. Is my uncle Benny, and he was an ignat. I can't say the word, but he's a big presence. For some reason, at the end of the day, my mouth stuck together. Um, I grew up learning that Benny and the Jet song because everyone always sing it, and then the next thing after singing the song, they'll be like, "You named after your uncle," and people thought I was his son because I carried his name.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the coolest things you can mistake me for is Benny's son because my uncle was like the epitome of cool.
Mm-hmm.
He was like charming and all this, but then I would learn stories about him from people. So it was like I was looking in a kaleidoscope
Mm-hmm.
of his life. So I go to Golden Time one day and an older white guy be in there and he'd be like, "Hey man, I heard Benny's your uncle." I'm like, "Yeah, let me tell you about this thing he did on the football field."
Mm-hmm.
And they told me how one time he returned a punt and ran a touchdown, and then they called it off on a flag,
Yeah.
and then they kicked it off, and then he ran it back and ran another touchdown. And they said then they called it back, and then they kicked it up, and he ran another touchdown from the punt. And I was like, dang. And they're like, hey, in basketball, you couldn't stay in front of the man. He was lightning quick. They said he could shoot lights out. Him and Elmer felt like an unfair pair, and that coach smaller. And they were just talking about like just the aura they had. And so I grew up going like I had so much pride just being Benny's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd ask my Uncle Benny different stories, and he's like, "Man, my brother Philip taught me how to play basketball, who's my mom's twin."
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked up my Uncle Philip one day and I found his mechanic arts yearbook, and he was averaging like 26 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't have a good team. It was before Floyd got there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Yeah, I taught Benny, but Benny had the it factor. Like I could play, but Benny like he was a force. Like he'd score and it felt like you got hit. Like it impacted you differently." And so I just thought it was special, kind of learning through them. And then Benny's sons played too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Andy played, and I grew up watching him and idolizing him. God rest his soul, but he was quick, could shoot. I think he might have the city record for most threes in a game or something like that. But yeah, it kind of came in the family, so it was really cool.
So you have that support, of your, pretty sure you got, tons of cousins. And well, I'm sorry. Of course, I know that.
Yeah.
But you have that. You have your family, and then you have your your bigger family.
Yeah.
With your aunts and uncles, and then not just your sisters and
Yeah.
brothers. So I'm pretty sure that plays a role in what you do and how you carry yourself.
Yeah.
And how it impacts your own family.
Absolutely.
And that's good. Now, about to close up here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Usually at the end of our show, we usually have our guests have the last say. Maybe something that they want to tell the listeners, some advice you might want to give as far as, how can I say it? Charles calls it pearls of wisdom. if you have anything, you want to say, something that I didn't talk about, something that we didn't cover, what would you say to our listeners?
What I would say is, I got to this place where I have this title, and a lot of people were like, "How do you get there? And how do you do this? And how do you do that?" I never strived for a single title that I've obtained. It's just been me focused and diligent with the tasks that were in front of me at the season that I was in, and being focused and diligent, committed to the task that I was given made me stand out. And so I just tell people that, like, the title is not the destination. Build the disciplines for yourself to push yourself to grow, and be comfortable with the results, knowing that you didn't cut corners, and also that, like, you didn't leave anything on the table. And so um, I'm in a new state, and more and new is required of me, because I gave my best ideas, my energy, and everything I had in the last role that I had. And before that, I did that again. And so I keep being regenerated, and I feel like I'm evolving, because I'm not cheating myself or anybody of my best effort. And so I think that's translatable to everybody, that man, just focus on the task, not necessarily the goal. Go on that journey, and do those baby things. So if your number is called, you'll be prepared to shine in that moment.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming. You came on short notice.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. I've known you a long time. I've known your family a long time, and I'm very proud of the man you're becoming.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you sharing your story, with everyone, and with the listeners.
Can I tell them about when you hit 21 threes in a row? I witnessed this. Rob Smaller's my witness. We were at Sheffer. It's not even Sheffer anymore. And Mitch got the flame, okay? Y'all just need to know it. He won't toot his horn, but I'm going to toot it for you. 21 threes in a row. I saw it. He's a lefty, too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh man, if anyone sees this ending, boy, they really gonna get on me. But I do appreciate that. With that, we're gonna end it right here. Be sure to read Charles Hallman and myself in the sports section of the Minnesota Spokesman-Recorder. And thank you again, Ben. And thank you for listening.
Peace.